Sharpening commentary, Sharpening, the Sharpening community, Sharpening videos like this one are all as terrible as they sound. Now, if you don't hate it yourself, you will after this video, and you'll probably only make it a minute longer than this sentence. As we're airing the grievances here, I also hate people who like this channel missing out on the once or twice I post a month when I put a video up. So click the bell below and you'll know when I post a new one. How about that? But the point is, the sharpening company TSProf, I hope I'm saying that right, it looks like a bunch of letters strung together, TSProf, based out of Russia, wanted to know if I'd like to channel some of that hate into breathing some metal shavings while working out my wrist. Sounds like a good afternoon. While they may not know I can't sharpen a stick, I decided to keep my stupid mouth shut for a change and take them up on the offer. Then they sent me their new Kadet, spelled with a K, expert sharpening system. I think there's a regular Kadet too that doesn't include the sharpening stones. Now you might know that I've owned the Spyderco Sharp Maker for years. It's easy to set up, it's low tech, and it's gotten me by okay. Plus, avoiding sharpening videos has saved me hours of responding to the sharpening bros and their sharpening tips. Now some good, some bad, but you never know. You only know there's thousands of them in variations of condescension. But the Sharp Maker works well as an edge maintainer on some of my better pieces. Pieces, like I'm referring to arts. Nick calls them pieces, doesn't he? Now, through the magic of the Sharp Maker, my Spydercos, Benchmades, and Gonzos, before I became legit, all get whipped back into shape rather easily. Now, this is because they have a factory edge that matches the 40-degree setting on the Sharp Maker very well, or 20 degrees per side. The reason they sharpen fast is because I'm not technically doing a reprofile. Reprofiles are terrible on it though, because you either have 30 degree or 40 degrees. There's only two options. And since a lot of my modern choppers are thick as hell, they take forever because you're removing a lot of material off of probably the edge bevel is not 20 degrees. While the Kadet can be purchased without abrasives, the Kadet Expert they sent me has 5 stones included and retails with the diamond plates for about $415 if I'm looking in the right place. Now they donated this to the channel, just so you know. So let's get to the disclaimer section of the video about me, my sharpening mastery, my skills, and my shame. And only in sharpening videos do I feel the need for paragraphs of disclaimers. So save yourself some chicken pecking. Here goes. I do not plan or want to attempt freehanding. I don't have patience or time, I can't maintain a consistent angle with my hand, and I don't intend to practice it any further than I have. I have strops, and I strop best when I strop less. The more I strap a blade, the duller it gets, even if I'm careful not to roll and rotate the blade near the end of the stroke like a fucking primate. Now I decided to review this item because I need more aggressive methods of edge removal and more flexibility and angle for my larger knives that don't play well with the Sharp Maker. This is a beginner's attempt at using a high-end sharpener and measuring my results. This video is about mistakes, and it's for beginners, it's not for the advanced people. Like, for example, me incorrectly setting my edge the first time. I've watched hours of videos, spent at least 8 to 10 full sharpening hours of sharpening on this system alone over maybe a dozen different size knives. I read many tips, I've solicited private advice, have been solicited with advice, I have watched tutorial videos, Irritated Pete from Cedric and Ada, who is, you know, the ultimate sharpening bro that I know, personally, with dumbass questions when I ran into obstacles. The internet is overloaded with sharpening videos, tutorials, commentary, reply guides, and it's really hard to find a place to start, okay? And most of the comments don't help, because some of them are contradictory. You get terrible advice, you get great advice. As a novice, which is which? I found usually the pushier and more confident is the worst advice. And they come off like dicks. Hey, honey, I plan on going out to the garage to sharpen my knives for 2 hours. Oh, all of them? She says. No, just a single one. I'm going to ruin it and get mad. See you in a few. Now the design of this is similar to the other sharpening systems out there. You have an abrasive on a rod, and you sand down the edge and flip and sand and flip and sand and continue until there's no blade left because you don't know what in the hell you're doing and it never got sharp. In reality, though, it was probably sharp briefly, but you just didn't know enough to leave it the fuck alone. Now, if you've seen this channel and watched me over the years, you know I have only ever used the Sharp Maker. I have a few strops. I once reached out to Wicked Edge about doing a video of one of their sharpeners, but the rules they had for the channel were ridiculous. Sorry I asked, and apparently they're not cool with me showing some hog. The other reason I held off on doing more sharpening videos is, you guessed it, the Sharp Bros. Anyway, here we are against my better judgment. The angle on this video is, can a complete idiot expect to sharpen with an expensive shit? system. With an expensive system like this, what problems does he encounter? How much does he have to drink? How does he try to solve them? When does he get good enough to go share his tips below other sharpening demos unsolicited? That's the real one. All right, folks, let's find out. The setup of the sharpener is straightforward, meaning it still took me 45 minutes. Like, I can do things. I know my right hand from my left. I remember changing out the carb on my Bronco once. I overcranked the bolt, split the mounting hole, and it ran worse, which is classic me. So I put the old one back on and let someone who knew what they were doing fix it. This was before YouTube. These come with instructions similar to IKEA, and I have accepted it will always take me longer to put these things together than everyone else. The sharpener consists of a weighted folding base and neck, and as you'll see later, the neck has the apparatus that attaches where you set your angle via a series of vague dashes. So you put your pivot eye up here. Let's call it an eye into the neck, the sharpener neck, and then after that you'll attach the rods together. Both rods get tightened into one another, and there are a few pieces that took me a while to get right. Lots of squinting at the drawings, lots of rereading sentences, but basically one end is a knob and the other end is an adjustable ring stopper that keeps you from pulling your rod out all the way. The two blade clamps attach to the slider mount, and the slider mount, which is probably not called that in the official manual, attaches to the neck thingy. Now, it's definitely called the neck thingy in the manual.
I'm not watching this so we can read off the product page. I'm here for his pretty face and the straight teeth.
The apparatus is where you adjust your blade angle with the aid of a cube. That is not included. Now, you can buy one from them. TSProf recommends an angle cube, as do I, because there isn't enough room to set it with my iPhone's angle measurer, accelerometer. So after 45 minutes, I'm fairly confident it's set up correctly. Channel Knife Crazy has reviewed this sharpener. He reviews quite a few of the sharpeners. With the help of that video and watching a few stropping videos and Pete's KME video and various other ones, reading the comments below them, I think I have it figured out. I'll link those videos below that helped me with this. To set your angle, you'll need to watch the TSProf video, or I guess you can watch this one now. In a perfect world, there'd be a very nice angle number on the side, but this way is a little less straightforward. The cube is a Klein I got off Amazon for about 20 bucks. I'll link below too, but there are others out there. There's probably better ones, but at this point I don't care. Since I've gotten this sharpener, I've already bought like 70 bucks worth of accessories, which is what they don't tell you about it getting expensive sharpeners like this. All the other bullshit you want to buy from the abrasive industrial complex. Stropping leathers, diamond spray, compounds, new plates to insert into the system. It's easily $100 if you want to mirror edges. And you know what? I'm not sure that I do. Now, before we get into the meat of it, which apparently we haven't by now, let me explain one thing that happened to me before we get to the sharpening that relates to my knob. The knob is glued on. My knob fell off at one point, maybe after 3 hours of sharpening. Now, when that happens, you can't sharpen because that's the knob you use for stroking, and it's also the knob that maintains the spring tension for your plates. When it falls off, so do your plates, and then there's a lot of cussing. I contacted TSProf. Is it TSProf? About this, and they said, their best solution for me was to glue it back on and talk about it in the video. Now, I've noticed a lot of other manufacturers of sharpeners, like for example a KME, those have threaded knobs. Now, that makes more sense to me than glue. They said they had used a bad batch of glue and they have since changed it. So, I glued my knob back on with some Gorilla Glue, let it maybe sit for about 40 hours, and a few full sharpens later, and so far it has held up. Remember, the glue initially held to about 3 hours of use, though. My Gorilla Glue job has held up to another 4 or 5 hours throughout the sharpening of the Jungleist. You'll see soon. That was after I re-glued the knob on. Some of the other video you've seen is before. All right, the abrasives that come with this edition of the Kadet are diamond plate. Extra coarse is F150. Coarse is F220. Medium is 400. Fine is F600. Very fine is F1000. F is the grit, right? Now, from everything I've read, again, I'm not a sharpening dude, but you're not going to get a mirror from 1,000 stone or below. I think some people say 2,000 you can start to get a polished edge. You can look it up. Someone will tell you below. But the Kadet can be used with many different abrasive sets. Knife Crazy's video below has a full sharpening demo where he tests other plates out with it. I did buy a leather plate from Amazon for edge polishing. It was made for the Edge Pro, which has a similar dovetail system, so you not even really have to adapt it. It literally fits right in there. Your plate or your stone does not need to have a dovetail plate for the other stone to work. This is supposedly compatible with a lot of the sharpening systems that have a similar style. You just compensate with a little thickness adjuster up top. The manual states you only need to do this if you are mixing and matching stone thicknesses during a single sharpening so it maintains your edge. Like if you just use the included ones and you don't mix it up, you won't need this. You know, you could sharpen, reprofile with this, and then do some finishing stropping up, stropping. And I get the strop suggestion a lot. I have 2 strops, an old strop man with the green compound and the white compound. I know the Diamond Juice Mafia furrows their brow when I say this. You can't get anything off the green compound. So for them, so they don't start fussing, I have also this Learning Sharp strop that I bought, the 6 micron gunny juice to refill. I've had both for a few years and I do use them sometimes with mixed results. I know the technique is don't roll it and pull it up high at the end unless you're taking off the burrs. I've watched the Gunny Sharp Talk Gunny Juice video for applying and stropping for this, for a little of this info. Just one of the many. So consistent strokes, you can find your angle by looking for the bite at the end and then stroke. Too high of an angle, you'll dull it. And I know I'm gonna be told, with strops you really don't need to sharpen as long as you just do it often. Got it. I don't know, sometimes it works well for me and other times it doesn't get any sharper after 20 minutes, so I don't have a steady hand or patience. If I did, wouldn't I freehand everything? Anyway, let's sharpen the hunglas, or the junglas. This is about the 10th or 12th knife I sharpened on here, and the second where I'm happy with my results. Some of the other ones are not bad. They're still very good, usable working edges, but part of the learning process is hours and hours of failing, and then people telling you why you're failing. At this point, I'm still doing a few incorrect things, but less of them overall. But first you set your angle. And because I failed high school geometry, my first instinct was to put the cube here or here, zero it out and move on and, call it my sharpening angle. However, watching the official video, that's wrong. The TSProf video shows you set it like this. You know what? I know being wrong sucks. Sometimes you like doing things the wrong way. It's even worse, you've been doing it wrong for years. But at some point you get in way too deep and you've been a complete asshole about your wrongness. So admitting you're wrong is the weak way. So obviously you're going to want to take that thing you've been wrong about to your grave. You'll be known for it long after you're dead. Yeah, he's a real son of a bitch. Never admitted he was wrong, and I'm kind of glad he's dead. But at least you never took the time to admit your mistake and apologize. They would have hated you for that. People hate apologies. I'm talking about the cube here and sharpening angle. So you zero the cube out on the rod. A lot of these cubes have magnetic bases, so you make sure you buy a cube with one. Then this tells you your angle. Now if I want to get close to a Spyderco Sharp Maker 40 degree setting, I'm going to set it 20 degrees per side. I want to be able to use my Sharp Maker as a touch-up to go to. You only have to do this one time. You don't have to flip it over and redo it because, that's the point of this is you set your edge and then you flip and not have to do it every time. Make sure you really crank the pin down. I would say sometimes I did not crank it down as much as I could have. And as far as the Sharp Maker goes, I will still use it for the knives I know that are very easy to sharpen on it. But for this, I like the idea of angle numbers on the neck instead of the pictures, honestly, although I don't know if that would work considering the way you set your angle. Is it a bad suggestion? I don't know, I'm about to start testing out the new Work Sharp and it has angle numbers. I have noticed that since you have to tighten the knob, dialing it in is a little tricky. You have your angle cube up here, and as you tighten, there are no hard notches as you tighten it. It's kind of like you just a slider. Tightening the knob can change your angle up to 5/10 of a digit, so you gotta kind of have to overdo it and then tighten and then see where you are. You can get it right, but it takes a little bit of patience. Sometimes I'm out of fucking patience. It is a nylon pin here, although, so I guess a solid hand tight. You don't want to crank it down with pliers. TSProf recommends oiling all the common friction areas, so the angle slider thing, pivot rod up top. I use a 3-in-1 oil for this. I'm sure that's wrong by some people. The sharpening manual gives a range of degrees, though, to match the picture, and then you're on your own. Maybe I'll speed this up at certain parts. I don't know how this is going to play out in editing, because I do the voiceover, then I edit, and this takes about 50 minutes. It's like the worst seminar you've ever attended. And the dumbass teaching it is unfamiliar with the subject matter. Speaking of, I'm aware I'm using these dry. The manual says included stones can be used dry. And unless you're one of those guys that tells you the people who make the things are doing it wrong. And I've watched the videos where someone uses the diamond plates with water. I think Knife Crazy does. Some abrasives do require oil. Slip. Some abrasives do require oil or water. But let me tell you why I went dry. Too many sharpening videos. I tried wet a few times, but I found it's easier to see my edge when it wasn't so smeary and it gets all over the place. I prefer breathing in the dust. And I know you're supposed to use the Sharpie, but sometimes you can actually see where you're hitting the edge without the Sharpie. So sometimes when I'm in a reef profile, I forego the Sharpie for a while. So if you don't see the Sharpie, sometimes give me a little bit of slack, okay? Because I can see where the plate is hitting because of the scuffs. Now, a magnifying glass or something similar like a jeweler's loupe can be helpful. Loop. I've never said that word out loud. I've only read it. Sometimes you need to help with seeing the burr or a thin edge of a Sharpie. Like I said, I'm about 10 or so knives deep. I have experimented with different angles. I know a lot of the sharpening bros like 17 degrees or so. I don't have ceramics or finer plates yet. So my idea is to do some touch-ups on the Sharpmaker's ceramic rods after this for, a bit of the finer polished edge look. Now this works well for a lot of knife sizes, including the big ones. My daggers, my autos, my switchblades would not be great on this unless you have real estate near the tang to grip the blade. A lot of daggers, they have a little peak there, and I just don't know if that's the best place. Now you can get the jaws on this pretty tight on your knife. They are very heavy duty. I spent some time working on my Endura 4, and I don't know, but the blade looks slightly bent to my eyes afterward. Did I over crank it? Did I bend the thin blade at some point? The knife clamps are nice though. They can obviously accommodate large knives and maybe even slightly larger, like, the Hunglas. They're machined from solid blocks of steel. I take that back. It's definitely aluminum. And I've noticed on other systems there are rubber protectors to protect blade finishes. Those would be nice here, although, I did not try to sharpen any of my high-end knives on this yet. And I am aware that I can rig something up, like tape a section of a blade where I want to clamp, or put some little rubber things and glue them on there. I know those tips. Do I want to get around to them is the real thing. Now the base is kind of heavy, but a touch heavier would have been fine too. You will need to hold the neck as you sharpen. Now I've watched Pete's video on the KME and I really like the idea of the grip in this area you can turn. Then you might say, well, buy the KME. That's a valid point. But this is designed to be disassembled easily and put in a box or a drawer with all your other sharpeners. I guess the KME is pretty easily breakdownable. I don't know, it's not a criticism though. I know the old card table here is a little unstable and I prefer my kitchen table, but unfortunately inside the house there were children watching cartoons. They want to get hit with a copyright violation. Speaking of mistakes, I actually made the mistake of not paying attention and overworking my GEC 15 Barlow. I took some of the belly off and I feel a little sad about it now. Those 2 millimeters were a part of me. You know what though? I have no pride right now, and I have also no problem admitting you made a mistake by watching this video. Now, overworking and not knowing when to lay off is probably my biggest mistake. After you set your first burrs, it's very easy to overwork it. Size of burrs is a big one too. I found ones that are barely there to touch work the best. So like you need to run your finger along there. You don't need a really thick one that's like jagged and rips your finger. So make sure you have a magnifying glass handy if your eyes aren't that great. What worked best for me is feeling the edges of my fingers after it was in the jaws, but before I sharpen, what a non-burred edge feels like. Sometimes a slight burr can be mistaken for the edge. As you're sharpening, you pause and feel for the burr, then feel the top side. That's usually burr-less, unless of course you just flipped it. So, kind of get a feel for what it feels like without it. And blade grinds are never perfect. Many are thicker near the tip, especially on the bigger blades, because the tip of the knife is closer to the spine than, say, closer to where the choil is, or the plunge line. So if you want to burr on the thicker areas, you will need to work those areas more than other if you want that consistent edge across the whole length of the blade. So as you work and start feeling a burr in some areas, make sure you lay off those areas a little after you get the burr. Junglis here, Hunglis, I'm never going to say it the right way. I spent a majority of the time on the blade in this area. I did not flip until I felt a burr up there too. The thing is when you have the burr across the edge, the whole length of the blade edge, you need to make sure it feels sort of consistent and not too thick in the other areas. That means you've overworked some parts if it feels thicker, so you want a good, nice, even edge. Lay off the areas when you get the slight burr, and then you start feeling the roughness across the entire edge. Do some full blend consistent strokes, across the entire length after you start feeling a little burr, so you get a little bit bigger burr. You need to blend it. Now as I speed this up here, notice the footage doesn't look like full strokes across the edge of the knife. The sound doesn't quite match up. That's a side effect of the editing software dropping frames and the footage sound not quite matching up. When the footage slows, that's a better visual representation of what it looks like to sharpen. I'm trying to balance runtime, talking, and pacing. It's kind of hard in a video like this, so thank you for your understanding. It's time to flip. Don't forget a Sharpie. Remember, I don't know if you know about the Sharpies or not, but if you forget about the Sharpies, even if you decide not to use them at a time because you can see where the edge is hitting, you know, someone will still bring it up. You're not doing it correctly unless you have a fucking Sharpie. Piece of shit. Bird's making it a little bit harder. One full sharpen. I'm not gonna even be. Oh yeah, I still got a ways before I get to the bird. Then you set a consistent burr on the other side, flip and work. The initial burr, the flip, and then the burr are going to take you the longest if you just want a regular sharp. Now, if you want to polish it and fine-tune it, but if you want to polish it and fine-tune it, that's a whole other thing, and I'm not interested in that in this video. Beginners like me tend to long stroke it or short stroke it. I've noticed some, like long as in like you hit the stopper a lot or you go over. That's what the stopper's for, so you don't go over and hit the edge of your knife with the edge of the plate. I've noticed some wear on the rod parker or holder up here, this little plastic thing. Some are from dings, from long strokes, and others are from just parking it. I would like maybe a few extra in the box or a more of a hard wearing material since it's some sort of plastic. Now just to recap, so your first two burrs are the biggest. Work one side until you get a burr across the edge, a consistent one. Flip, and work the opposite side till you get a consistent burr across that edge. This is getting nice and sharp. Go with some... When you move stones, you spend less time per side. No matter what you see me doing, and I'm terrible, smooth, patient, longer strokes seem to work the best. When I did this, I found that light passes with the finer and finer stones worked best. I started with the coarse on the SE, found it wasn't aggressive enough, and went to the extra coarse or 150 grit. Then after the 2 burrs, I moved to the medium, spent just a few minutes working 2 or 3 passes and flipping, making sure I got a little bit of a burr there. When I started out, I noticed the knives were getting sharp, but then I would overwork them and they would get less sharp because I wasn't, I was working different areas of the knife and there were burrs on either side, and that's never a good thing. Sometimes when you're doing the finishing or burr removal after you've set your initial burr on either side, and maybe your second flip to the first side, the third total side you've worked on. So first side, second side, and then the first side for the second time. That's when you want to use a lighter touch. Now let me be clear about my sharpening. I am most certainly sanding this like I would sand a 2x4 after about 8 Red Bulls, which I'm sure will show up below as too hard. Now if you'd kindly self-immolate for the good of the knife community. I have the benefit of watching myself after the fact and also being a critic of myself. I think slow, long strokes that are light are probably academically the best. You don't want to overdo it. However, the difference between you and me is you don't need to post a video to later be embarrassed about like I do. Guys, when you've been posting cringe for years and people watch it, it's real hard to stop posting cringe. And remember, sharpening on a stable table works best too. But you work with what you got.
Son, what about your strokes?
Now I've gotten slightly better over the course of maybe 8 to 10 hours using this. I have set an entirely new edge on the Junglis, and it took me about 50 minutes. The problem areas, like on most knives I've sharpened, are near the tip. It's almost certainly ground thicker up there on most of the knives I own. The next sharpen and touch-up should be easier now that my edge is fairly consistent. The edge I ended up with was mainly set in the first 4 flips. Then I employed a light touch throughout. Perhaps if I spent more time on the finer stones, I could have gotten it razor sharp, but as it stands, it can cut drawing paper fairly well. And this knife, which I technically have never reviewed in a video, is a gift from a viewer. Does he still watch? I don't know. I hope he does. This knife was one he carried in Afghanistan during deployment, and it's cool, and it means a lot that he passed it on to the channel. I have quite a few cool blades over the years from viewers that have given them to me, and I just would like to thank them. I really appreciate them. As far as the sharpener goes, the Kadet is a pretty competent, flexible sharpener. I don't have a lot of frame of a reference for other ones. I have watched videos and seen them, but I don't know if I need 50 sharpening systems around. So my Sharp Maker, and then I guess my Work Sharp, which I got, which maybe I'll like that. I don't know if I like that more. I don't know if it's more my speed. These are a little more for the technical crowd into the sharpening. If TSProf had some suggestions, I'd like them to maybe switch away from the glue for the knobs, maybe the knob threaded or a screw in the end of the rod. That's really my only major complaint with the sharpener. Anyway, you've made it this far. If you like these videos, the best way to support the channel is to click that bell. You'll get an email once or twice a month when I upload, and that's literally the best way. You can always buy a shirt with my new logo or the old channel artwork. I get a good cut of that too, you know, stickers, mugs, there's some other stuff. I had some cheap stickers and magnets I did some runs of. I sold over on Instagram, so thanks to those people who bought those from me. Follow me over there on Instagram too, where I post new things I bought or gotten in for review. I post there more often. Anyway, say hi to the patrons. These cool people are helping me pay off the new camera and computer I shot and edited this video with. I've been using my new computer for a while, but this is the first one I've shot in 4K with my new camera. So patrons are helping me pay those off. So I hope it looks like it was worth it. Anyway, leave a comment, give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.